Hello everyone, today's video is about using Google Slides to make fabulous presentations. In the last video that you can find here, I taught you how to use 4 simple design principles to knock that presentation out of the park every single time. Today, we're going to look at how to do that using Google Slides. Let's jump in. How do you find Google Slides? Click on the app launcher, and you should see it there. If you don't see it, you can go to your drive, and from within your drive, click New and select the application. You can also go to slides.google.com, which brings you to a template gallery. It's worth spending a few moments in here, taking a look at some of these great templates, especially if you're not accustomed to building a presentation slide deck. But for today, we are going to be starting with a blank slide. Here's something you need to know about a slide deck. First off, come into Slides, down to Page Setup, and you can choose between a widescreen or a standard 4:3 aspect ratio, but I always choose Custom, and I come into Pixels, and I choose 1920 by 1080p, which is pretty standard for YouTube videos. This is great if you're going to be doing screencasts such as this one. Your color palette is really important when you're building a slide deck, and I recommend that you keep your color palette within, say 3 or 4. It depends on what you're choosing. If you're choosing analogous, and over here I'm at the Adobe Color Wheel site. You can get there by typing color.adobe.com, sign into your Adobe account, which is always advantageous because you can save your color palette to your account. And then when you are in Adobe Spark, which also makes great slides, you can choose that color palette for your slides. But here you see me playing around with some of the different hues in the analogous color palette. You can also choose complementary, which just gives you on the different scale or the opposite side of the color wheel, or triadic or analogous or monochromatic or whatever you want. And you can play around here to your heart's delight till you find something really great. Once you've chosen your color palette, you're going to want to grab the hex codes for that. So that's down here. Those are these numbers that we're going to put into our Google Slides when we build our palette. Another suggestion for finding great color palettes is at colorsupply.com, 3 Y's in that URL, and it's pretty much the same thing. You can choose between complementary, analogous, etc., and it will also generate your hex codes for you. One of the things I like about this site here is the little icons that it gives you here at the bottom, which is kind of a heads up of what your slides might look like when you choose these colors. Once you've got your hex codes, copy each one and paste it onto a Google slide. Click Background, go into Color, down to Custom, and paste that code. Click OK, and done. The advantage to copying your hex codes directly into your custom colors is so that when you are either creating a new slide or especially creating shapes on the slide, that you've got those colors available for you. You don't have to recreate them all the time. So if I'm going to draw out this ellipse here and I want it to be yellow, come into the paint bucket, and there is my color theme right there that I've chosen. I also recommend that you edit your font types. Pick 2 fonts that you're going to use throughout your presentations. Go into View, click on Master, and let's begin here with the first layout style. This would be our title slide. Click on the text and come into your fonts. And you can go through these fonts and choose whichever one you want. If you don't like what you've got there, you can click on More Fonts and you can go through those and add whatever fonts you choose. I've already done that work. I'm going to choose Ubuntu. You see this font type here has got more glyphs available for you. Light, normal, medium, bold. I'm going to choose bold. And for the subtext, I'm going to choose Quattrocento, which does not have other style types. So every time I click this layout slide, which is my title slide, I'm going to have the font type already selected for me. This really is a time saver because you don't have to file through all your fonts and look for where they are. A couple of important things to know about Google Presentations is that your toolbar is context sensitive. What that means is when you click on an item on your slide, for example, this text box, anything that's related to formatting that text box is going to appear up here. So the font size, bold, underlined, whatever, and change your different font types. You also need to know that each time you add an element to your slide, it goes automatically to the top layer. Let's say, for example, I wanted this circle to be at the bottom layer or towards the back. Click on the circle, click on Arrange and Order, and I can send it backwards, which means sending it back one step, or sending it to the very back, which would be the very first layer. You can also access that context-sensitive menu by clicking on the object itself on the slide, right-click, and you can select Bring to Front again. Before I show you how to put an image on a slide, I'm going to show you how to create a new slide. You can just click the plus menu. You can also click this little down arrow here, which will give all of the slides possible for you. So most of you are going to want to choose a blank slide here. And let's choose our background with our color palette again. And this time I'm going to go for a lighter blue. Click Done. Let's make a circle. Go into Shapes, choose your circle, hold down your Shift key, and pull it out. Let's give the circle a color according to our palette. And we can give it a line thickness, and let's go for a nice dark blue. And I want, let's say 8 pixel thick. Let's copy the circle, hold down Alt, pull it out. Now I've got another circle identical to that. What if I wanted to reduce the size? Hold down the corners and Shift to keep your proportions, and you can make that circle a little bit smaller. Let's say that I wanted to change the color of that circle. Go into my bucket, down to my custom colors, change that yellow. Well, let's say I don't like the yellow. How about if I even go more customized? I can make it transparent, and I can play around with the hue here. And now, don't like that color very much, but let's just pull it into the inside because I want to show you how you can create so many different kind of custom shapes just by playing around here. And so the order here, remember, you can always do this. I can send my larger circle to the back, send the bigger one to the front, do whatever I want. Now my circle is gone. I want to bring it back. Control Z to bring it back. So let's say that this is a style that I want to choose and I want to create the whole thing again. Here's an easy way to do it. Click on both of your shapes. So on your inside shape, hold down Shift, click on the outside shape, and let's go into Arrange and Group. Now these two circles here are going to move as one. Now let's see how we apply an image to a slide. Create a new slide. Let's go into the image icon, and you have a choice here from an image that you find on the web, in your Google Drive, perhaps in your Google Photos, an image that you've chosen with a particular URL, or even something that you can take with your webcam. I'm going to choose an image here from my Google Photos. Click on that and insert. And this is how it always comes in, with a little bit of sort of room on the side depending on how big your slides are. These are big slides, 1920 by 1080. And if you wanted to grab this image and make it fill your entire slide, you might be pixelating it or skewing it because, well, maybe your image just doesn't exactly look like that. So let's just open up another slide, put in another image, and this time what you can do is hold your corners and hold Shift. And when you do that, you're not going to be distorting your picture. Now you've got a great background image to work from. Well, you've got other formatting options as well when you've got pictures going on. So let's click Format Options, and here you see you can recolor this, which I don't really want to do. You can also go into adjustments. This is interesting, and you can reduce the transparency. Why would you want to do that? Well, maybe you want to put some text over top of it, and that would look pretty good. So let's try that. So insert a text box and choose the text that we've got here for our slide deck, Ubuntu. Center my text, make it nice and bold. There we go. So any text that you put on top of your slide now is a little bit more obvious. I would probably want to make my image a little bit more transparent, so you can really play around with that. Now you see you've got another option here for text. You can actually add a drop shadow to your text. This is pretty new. So let's see, you can choose the color of the drop shadow. How about we go for a gray? You can choose the angle of it. You can choose the distance of it. Even make it blurred. So I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about drop shadows on text, but it is for those people who like to get really detailed about their images and their graphics. That's something else that you can take a look at. The other way to add images to slides is as a background. Click on background, click on image. I'm going to look for an image using Google search. Let's say an apple tree, and any result I get is a Creative Commons picture that I don't have to worry about citations. Now Google automatically adds the image to the background of the slide. The advantage to this is that now I can add elements on top of it like shapes and squares and text and everything else, and not worry about moving my background image because it is there as a static element. So you can move this around and the background image won't move. That's pretty cool. The disadvantage to putting the image as a background on the slide is that you can't use the guides when you're going to be trying to adjust your elements according to the rule of thirds. So if you go into View and you go into Guides and Show Guides, and we'll go into the new slide that I have here, you see that I've got the rule of thirds set up as a guide for me to follow. And it's pretty easy to do this. If you go into Guides and Edit Guides, you can see that your vertical lines should be at 3.3 inches and your second guide at 6.6 inches. And your horizontal line should be at 1.83 and 3.78. The advantage to setting that up is that for every single new slide that you create, you're going to see those guidelines if you've got elements that you want to strategically place according to your intersection points. There's so much more to say that I'm going to have to do a part 2 of this presentation. In the next part, I want to talk about using add-ons. Those are sort of extra little scripts that connect you up with other websites and extend the functionality of your Google Slides. What's really important is finding the perfect picture. So I'm going to give you my very extensive list of sites that I go to find Creative Commons images. And when I can't find the perfect picture, how to find just the right icon. And if I can't find just the right icon, how to find just the right diagram to express the concepts that I'm aiming at. I'm going to talk about how to use images as shapes, how to mask your images, how to use gradients in your shapes, how to group elements together on a page, and how to animate elements both on a slide and how to animate an entire slide deck. So stay tuned, folks. I hope that I have brought some value to you in your learning about Google Slides. If so, please give a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.